on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Tonight, fighting for your health. President Maithripala Sirisena highlights the necessity of a national program to combat diabetes. The battle begins. Joint opposition holds mega rally in Anuradhapura and vows to win the upcoming LG polls. Winning the economy. State Minister Sujiva Senasinghe discusses the ways of reaching the country's fiscal goals.
Electric car can be a small car, can be made in Sri Lanka with German technology.
End in tragedy. Traffic accident kills advanced level students in Rajagiri and several still in intensive care. In international headlines, fighting for independence from a Catalan leader who is currently in self-imposed exile in Belgium says Catalans should be identified as dignified people. Live across Sri Lanka, this is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Our coverage begins tonight with President's quest to find a better solution for diabetes. President Maithripala Sirisena today emphasized the need for a national program to control diabetes while assuring the government's support towards such a program. He made this remark participating at a walk organized at Golface Green in line with National Diabetes Day.
The National Diabetes Day walk, organised by the Non-Communicable Diseases Unit of the Ministry of Health, Sri Lanka Diabetes Federation and the Sri Lanka College of Endocrinologists, was held today under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
I propose to the Minister of Health, the Ministry, the Diabetes Association of Sri Lanka and all responsible institutions to name a month for diabetes. If we prepare a program for the entire month, we will be able to execute it together with the relevant sectors. I see the necessity for such a program. There are many institutions that provide us money for this cause. We also allocate money from the budget. Apart from that, we also receive funds from international organizations. We can use those funds for this cause. If you can organize such a program, we are ready to give our utmost cooperation as a government.
Looks like we are heading for another bitter election battle as the government printer yesterday issued the relevant gazette allowing the Elections Commission to proceed with the local government polls. Today, the joint opposition began their campaign as their inaugural rally took place this afternoon in Anuradhapura. Here, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that his loyalty lies with the public and the principles of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
A rally organised by the joint opposition as part of its island-wide political campaign was held at the Salgadu ground in Anuradhapura today. Themed "Let's Get Together to Rebuild the Country," the rally was held under the patronage of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Prominent politicians including Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piris, parliamentarians Dinesh Gunawardena, Vasudeva Nanayakkara, Vimal Weerawansa, Kumara Welgama, S.M. Chandrasena, Mahindananda Aludgamage and Prasanna Ranatunga participated in the rally today.
The budget is a complete lie. Those who compiled this budget don't even know that we can't import new electric vehicles. There's a huge fuel crisis just because a fuel shipment is delayed by 4 days. A politician from this area has brought a building for the Agriculture Ministry and no one has used it yet. They paid 5 million rupees just for the electricity usage of 3 months. What a waste of money. We will not join hands with a party that supports the UNP.
අපි කිසිසේත් සන්දානගත වන්නේ නැහැ එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයට මුක්කු ගහන පක්ෂයකට.
It was during Professor G.L. Piris' speech that the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa joined the rally. Ministers of this good-for-nothing government say during media briefings that they are under pressure from higher officials. We asked them if this is what they call democracy. And then the president goes on to say that there are people inside the government who are against him. Earlier, they were talking about free Wi-Fi, but now they have increased telephone costs by imposing more taxes for telecommunication towers.
We came together here in the North Central Province under the leadership of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to put a stop to this undemocratic political journey. We tell the government faction of the SLFP and the UMP that the only way to put an end to this by ensuring a win for the Podujana Peramuna under the former President's guidance. People are demanding through Facebook to distribute fuel before trying to devolve power. Minister Samarveera brought in a budget proposal the other day. There's nothing for the farmers, nothing at all for the public officers. There's only tax relief for beer. We are fortunate to have these kinds of governments. The Prime Minister is trying to divide the country through the constitution, and this was a country that couldn't be divided even by war. We have to make sure to limit powers of this government both inside and outside the parliament. They have already lost power outside the parliament, and you'd be able to see it once the election is held. I'm only working with the public, and I'm not with any leader, the UMP or Ranil or the other one. I won't have any deals with anybody. This election should be taken as one to teach this government, and it's your responsibility to make us win. You should prepare for this now. The SLFP is here. Its principles are here. It doesn't matter what sort of a symbol we have. What matters is upholding the principles. They had betrayed this party to the UMP. Give us your support to defeat this government. You need to prepare to make us win in provincial as well as local government elections.
අසර 15ක් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ එතුමා හබරන මැතිවරණ කොට්ටාශයේ අති විශාල ජනතාවක් එක්ක එතුමන් ඉතාමත්ම ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගන්න එහි නිර්මාතෘවරයා හැටියට හිටපු
The Sangha Sabha of the Rohana chapter unanimously declared today that bringing a new constitution is not advisable for the nation at the moment. According to the Chief Registrar and the Archdeacon of the Rohana chapter, Venerable Omari Kasapathera, the decision was taken by the Executive Working Committee of the chapter.
The Sangha Sabha of the Rohana chapter of the Shamopali sector convened at the headquarters of the Sangha Sabha in Mathura today under the patronage of Chief Judicial Sangha Nayaka of the Rohana Sangha Sabha, Venerable Professor Kalaththegoda Saddharatana Thera.
The Executive Working Committees, including the Chief Prelate of Rohana chapter of Shamopali sector, unanimously decided to reject the government's proposals pertaining to a new constitution. The Sangha Sabha emphasized that a new constitution is not needed for this nation at the moment. We as Rohana Sangha Sabha only approve the amendments to the electoral system. We are also against the removal of executive presidency while the 30th amendment is still in effect. The government is facing hardships in reforming the constitution due to the demands of various separatists. Thereby, the Sangha Sabha unanimously decided that a new constitution is not admissible at this moment.
Meanwhile, yesterday, the Chief Prelate of the Ramanya sector, Venerable Napane Pemasiri Thera, also voiced similar concern when the Minister of National Coexistence, Dialogue and Official Languages, Mano Ganesan, met with the Thera.
Our sector has declared that there is no need of a new constitution. However, we believe that justice must be ensured for every individual, regardless of their ethnicity.
Meanwhile, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, says that the constitution should continue to give its foremost place for Buddhism. The Archbishop made this remark at a gathering held in Maradana today.
Archbishop Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit met with clergy and the public at a gathering in Maradana last evening.
Even when some of the chief prelates do not speak about the country's national identity and the honor of the nation, you clearly stated that this should not be made a secular state. I spoke about a secular civilization, emphasizing from the beginning that it does not suit our country. Some Western countries are secular status. We can observe significant spiritual decay in those countries.
The Archbishop also responded to questions raised by media.
With regards to the constitution, the country has a strong religious background since Buddhism has been the country's lifeblood. Thus, we received a heritage of respecting religion. We have to pay special attention to this because our country was nourished by religious thinking. Then it will pay the way for the well-being of our other religions.
In other local stories, Deputy Minister of Power and Renewable Energy Ajit P. Pereira alleges that the United People's Freedom Alliance gained undue benefits in the Galle district during the last general election by misusing the popularity of former parliamentarian Geetha Kumarasinghe. He made these claims at a public gathering held in Kalutara yesterday.
Former MP Geetha Kumarasinghe, who strengthened the representation of women in parliament, was made to leave. She is a citizen of both Switzerland and Sri Lanka. Despite being aware of her ineligibility, she contested upon the advice of lawyers such as MP Gammampila. The important thing is that regardless of her ineligibility, the party manipulated her popularity by including her name in the candidates list in order to gain undue benefits for the party as well as its other candidates. If either a UMP or JVP candidate files a case at the Court of Appeal and proves that the UPFA gained undue benefits by allowing an ineligible contestant, the UPFA candidate list of the Galle district could be nullified.
A special Central Committee meeting of the Tamil National Alliance began this morning. The meeting was presided over by the leader of the Tamil National Alliance, R. Sambandhan, and leader of the Ilangai Thamil Arasu Katchi, Mave Senadiraja.
The discussions were held with regard to the upcoming electoral process of the Ilangai Thamil Arasu Katchi and the crises that have arisen in the Tamil National Alliance. The meeting also focused on how the Ilangai Thamil Arasu Katchi will contest for local government bodies in the northern and eastern provinces. Meanwhile, Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneswaran, today responded to questions raised by media following a special meeting of the Tamil People's Council.
We pointed out that if the leadership of the TNA accepts a disadvantageous political solution, we will never be able to get out of it. Let the government give us what they want. But I emphasize that the leadership of the TNA should assure that the party will not let go of its basics.
The Chief Minister also commented his opinions on the qualifications the party's candidates should possess.
We should bring in suitable people as candidates. We should not bring in favorites or people who work for the party alone. According to the law, there are certain qualifications that a chairman should carry. We should only appoint candidates who hold those qualifications, not those who are beneficial only for the party, but those who can solve the problems of the Tamil people.
Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake says that the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is mainly responsible for the downfall of the country's economy. He made these remarks following an event held in Colombo today.
The good governance has been affected by the activities of certain politicians. The officials haven't changed, although the government has. Take a look at the Central Bank. That is the institute responsible for the downfall of the country's economy. There are few in the central bank who make irrational decisions, and that is the reason why we can't decrease the interest rates of the country. We will try to control this situation. UMP is a brave party that will only go forward.
Minister of Special Assignment Dr. Sarath Amanugama, who is the chairman of the Cabinet Subcommittee appointed by President Maithripala Sirisena to investigate the petrol crisis, says the committee report will be submitted to the President this coming Tuesday. He made these remarks in response to a question raised by a journalist in Kandy today.
We are issuing petrol in all areas. There is no crisis. We will investigate the cause of this issue and submit a report to the President on Tuesday. We have completed a fair amount of it. We cannot comment about where the contamination occurred until we submit the report. However, we have investigated those matters and they will be included in the report.
Well, tragic news to report to you tonight. An 18-year-old student lost his life while 8 others sustained injuries when they met with an accident in Rajagiriya today. The deceased is an advanced level student of Royal College, Colombo.
The accident occurred at around 1:50 a.m. today. A group of students of Royal College, Colombo were travelling from Murugasmulla to Rajagiriya in a cab and a motor vehicle when the driver of the cab lost control of the vehicle and crashed into the parapet wall of a nearby house. Subsequently, the motor vehicle which followed the cab also crashed into the parapet. According to the Deputy Director of the National Hospital of Sri Lanka, Dr. Samidhi Samarakone, one student had succumbed to his injuries when he was brought to hospital.
2 students are receiving treatment at the intensive care unit attached to the emergency unit. 1 student is undergoing neurosurgery and others who sustained major injuries are receiving treatment in the ward.
පවතිනවා.
The deceased is a resident of Mount Lavinia named Mohammad Aman Kichil. His funeral was conducted this evening at the Jumma Mosque in Devala.
Here's a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
Minister of Post, Postal Services and Muslim Religious Affairs MHA Halim stated that the government will take steps to amend postal fees in the near future. Addressing a media briefing in Kandy, the minister indicated there is a high probability of increasing postal fees for the betterment of the postal service. Remembrance Day and Poppy Ceremony, organised annually by the Sri Lanka Ex-Servicemen's Association, was commemorated yesterday in Colombo and Kandy. Floral tributes were paid to the memory of all fallen war veterans, including those killed in world wars. The passing out parade of 117 Army cadets who had completed the 64th Cadet Training Program of the Gambunuwatch Regiment was held at the Sri Lanka Military Academy in Diyatalawa. The body of a 6-year-old boy was discovered in the Bogahavatta Canal in the Bulapatana. The deceased child had been missing since yesterday and the body was discovered during a search operation launched by local residents. A woman beat her husband to death using a wooden plank in Vennapur. Unable to bear domestic violence he was inflicting on her. The deceased is a 49-year-old father of 4.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to business news now. State Minister of International Trade Sujiva Senasinghe emphasises that it is imperative to create the environment for an internationally competitive market within Sri Lanka by 2030. Addressing a panel discussion during the Asia-Pacific Trade and Investment Week held recently, the minister also revealed that the government's plan to make the country a global manufacturing hub.
The 5th Asia-Pacific Trade and Investment Week was held in Bangkok recently. The Asia-Pacific Trade and Investment Report for 2017 was handed over to the newly elected Vice President of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, State Minister Sujiva Senasinghe. Addressing a panel discussion, State Minister Senasinghe discussed the government's focus to make Sri Lanka a global manufacturing hub and gateway to South Asia.
We have 3 very important ports, one in Hambantota, one in Trincomalee, one in Colombo. Colombo is already the 28th port in the world when it comes to trade. China is investing about $2 billion in Hambantota. They are looking to manufacture in Sri Lanka, so that they'll have business through the port. We are looking at 20,000 acres of industrial zones, 3,000 in Hambantota, 7,000 in Monragala, 2,000 in Galle, 2,000 in Kalutara, 1,500 in Matara, in Kandy another 2,000, Kurunagal another 2,000, and the north and east where the war was, that area was about 5,000 acres. And along with these 5 trade agreements, with one with China, India, Thailand, Malaysia and Singapore. So all this gives us actually a brilliant foundation for us to have multilateral trade. And as much as we want to trade with these countries which we are getting into agreements, we would like to deal with other countries as well.
The State Minister also spoke about the government's focus on moving away from being a country that benefits from trade concessions alone. He emphasized the importance of building the environment for citizens to compete internationally.
So we bring the technology through the industrial zones, and Thailand is very helpful to us. In Sri Lanka, 400 acres. By December, we are hoping to start this industrial zone and mostly Japanese companies. About 100 Japanese companies and household electrical appliances. So first electrical appliance, and then we want to move into industrial items as well. To this, the supply chain, 30% of value addition must be done in Sri Lanka for us to get that advantage. So the raw materials and other supplies will be from the small entrepreneurs. We will guide them, we will give them the technology. We would even invite them to speak to Japanese companies and to start small enterprises with them, along with them, joint ventures. I spoke to the German trade minister and I told him about Sri Lanka. So he said electric car can be made in Sri Lanka because with the FTA with India, we have the duty-free facility to India for vehicles.
Central Bank of Sri Lanka announces that the land price index for the period from January to June 2017 has increased 12.6% on a year-on-year basis. The rise continues the recent trend in land price movements in the Colombo district. All three sub-indices of the index, which are residential, commercial and industrial, have contributed to this increase. In order to monitor the development in the real estate sector, the Central Bank compiled and analyzed several indicators. In the compilation process, the LPI Central Bank uses the land price data collected by the Evaluation Department, covering around 50 centres of 5 district secretariat divisions in the Colombo district. Well, tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka rose 1.3% to 152,429 in October 2017 from a year earlier amid subdued growth in the main Indian and Chinese markets. Arrivals in the first 10 months of the year compared with last year were up 2.7% to 1.7 million arrivals, according to data from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Indian visitors were up 1.4% to 36,996 in October, while total Indian visitors for the first 10 months were up by 5.5% to 304,597, securing the top slot. Chinese visitors were up 6.2% to 21,846 in October, while total Chinese visitors for the first 10 months were down 1.4% to 230,481. Middle Eastern visitors showed a decline of 10.5%, while visitors from Australia were up by 8.6% to 67,403 for the first 10 months. Now, arrivals from UK rose 7.8%, while arrivals from Germany dropped 1.7% in the first 10 months to October. Well, for a detailed picture as to how the markets will perform this week, here's Achyutan Srirangan from First Capital Holdings with our weekly forecast.
We believe the slowness in the activity to continue with the continued results of earnings of companies. The primary reason for the slowness is the weakness in the company's earning. However, we expect the buying interest to pick up towards the end of the week, primarily led by the foreign buying amidst attractive valuation prevailing at the moment. The budgetary proposed measure for the fiscal consolidation while encouraging the private sector for investment into the new business and the startup, also creating an environment for the growth in the tradable sector. Local buying interest into like to remain moderate, waiting to see the approach of the direction of the ASPI.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to international news now. Former Catalan leader Charles Puigdemont, who is currently in self-imposed exile in Belgium, says Catalans should be identified as dignified people who denounce violence and follow their will to decide the future through freedom. Now, he expressed these views via a pre-recorded message played at a rally held in Barcelona against the detention of Catalan independence leader by Spain.
Thousands of Catalan independence supporters filled one of Barcelona's main avenues yesterday, demanding the release of separatist leaders held in prison for their roles in the region's banned independence movement. The protesters, who displayed their support by wearing yellow ribbons, filled the length of the Avenue Marina during speeches made by families of the jailed leaders. Meanwhile, former Catalan President Carles Puigdemont also addressed the protests via a video message.
To the Spanish state, we can't continue like this. To the European community, stop looking somewhere else. And to all the Democrats in the world, you should see dignified people who don't like to be behind bars or any kind of violence, and who will keep following the will that most democratic people in the world want, which is to decide their future through freedom.
Meanwhile, Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy visited Catalonia for the first time since he imposed direct rule on the region, where he stated that regional elections next month will help end separatist havoc.
Also in international news, U.S. President Donald Trump says that he sides with the U.S. intelligence community's assessment on alleged Russian meddling in last year's U.S. presidential election. Trump made these claims at a media briefing held today during his visit to Vietnam as a part of his five-nation tour of Asia.
I'm with our agencies, especially as currently constituted with their leadership. I believe in our intel agencies, our intelligence agencies. I've worked with them very strongly.
Trump, who was of the view that Russia and China could contribute towards resolving the issue of North Korea, also voiced his interest in befriending North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
I think anything's a possibility. Strange things happen in life. I don't know that it will, but it would be very, very nice if it did.
Well, tens of thousands of people joined a nationalist march in Warsaw yesterday, organized to coincide with Poland's Independence Day. Marchers chanted religious slogans and some called out racist chants. Police estimated that 60,000 people took part in the march, which attracted far-right agitators from elsewhere in Europe as well. Now, across the city, a smaller counter-protest was also held by anti-fascist groups. The November 11th celebration marks the day in 1918 when Poland regained its independence after having been carved up for 123 years by Russia, Persia and Austria.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Other Derana 24/7.
On to sports now. Sri Lanka's under-19 recorded their second win in the Youth Asia Cup 2017, beating Afghanistan by 61 runs in Malaysia yesterday. Left-arm spinner Praveen Jaivikrama was awarded the man of the match for his spellbinding performance with the ball, with figures for 5 for 17.
The Afghans came into play full of confidence after packing off Pakistan in their first match. Afghanistan won the toss and opted to bowl first as the match was reduced to 42 overs per side due to bad weather. Sri Lanka ended their innings on 192 for 8 in their allotted overs, with Hasita Boyagoda scoring a half-century while Jehan Daniel scored 36. Sri Lankan bowlers, however, dismantled the Afghanistan batting order, bowling them out for 135. Praveen Jaivikrama was the pick of the bowlers with a stunning 5-wicket haul for 17 runs.
Well, South Korean Hyun Chung outlasted Russian Andrei Rublev in the inaugural Next-Gen ATP Finals yesterday.
It took Hyun Chung just under 2 hours to win his first ATP title, sealing the result with a powerful cross-court forehand. Despite losing the first set, Hyun came from a set down to beat Andrei Rublev 3-4, 4-3, 4-2, 4-2. Six-seeded Hyun was unbeaten throughout the tournament and had already beaten Rublev in straight sets in his second match in the round-robin group stage.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Well, Sadhini Upeka is at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. This is your forecast first for the next 24 hours. Tomorrow's temperatures will average at around 28 degrees Celsius in coastal areas, hitting a high of 30 degrees in the east. Cooler temperatures in the low 20s will prevail in the central hills. Now, a low pressure zone will form in parts of the southern half of the island during the course of the day, spelling widespread showers. That's it from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. But before we go, we'd like to take you to Shangro city of eastern China's Jiangxi province, where rows of polygonum flowers have blossomed in full. The purple-pink flowers stretch over several kilometers, creating a picturesque, vibrant scene. It has become a popular spot for tourists as well as photographers. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.